done.
As quickly as the news arrived, so the carefully planned routine to this 9-year-old's day crumbled.
So the first we heard about it was 4 p.m. yesterday, and that's been after 2 weeks of social stories with our daughter, preparing her for the return to school, because for kids with special needs, it's a really difficult time. The transition from summer holidays back to the new school year is a really hard time to prepare for.
And if that transition isn't handled properly?
School is a real pillar of stability and security and routine and safety for the kids, but also for the families. So, you know, I'm worried about her melting down later this week.
Tomorrow, Helen tells us, the school will be surveyed and the risk assessed. What happens from there is a matter of structural mechanics, but for this family, it could be a lifeline cut. Helen's daughter has a rare chromosomal disorder.
We rely on education, we rely on the school system as this sort of, you know, a blanket of security for vulnerable children, to give them a place to go, to give them support and structure, and, you know, for many, like access to food and good nutrition and care. And the fact that, once again, that structure's just been ripped out so quickly, it's really alarming.
The school is working with a team of specialists to address the RAAC problem and reopen. Ultimately, it says pupil safety is a priority. Of course, many have been asking what the government's priority has been.
Are you doing a good job on schools, or is it a sticking plaster job?
And the facts aren't much to smile at. Today, it emerged its programme to rebuild 50 schools a year between 2020 and 2030 has, as of today, delivered just 4 rebuilds. The Department for Education told us that 50 is just an average figure and that it's still on course to rebuild 500 schools by the end of the decade. But the slow pace of the work will only increase the pressure on Rishi Sunak. Yesterday, he denied that, as Chancellor, he'd slashed crucial funding. That claim, made by a former senior civil servant, was put to the schools minister today, who confirmed that the department had asked for 4 times more than Sunak had signed off on.
We put in a bid for 200, but what Rishi agreed to was to continue the rebuilding programme at 50 a year. 50 school buildings a year is what the system can cope with. And, of course, we put in a bid for 200, but, of course, the Treasury then has to compare that bid with all the other priorities right across Whitehall.
I think this is a damning admission from the schools minister, who's confirmed that Rishi Sunak has cut the money that is needed to keep our schools safe, that Rishi Sunak is not prepared to spend the money that is needed to ensure that our children, this country's children, are given the best possible education in the safest possible environment.
It's so hot, darling.
Helen, like so many parents and guardians, has lots of questions, one of them being, why's everything happened so last minute?
I think there has to be some accountability for this total failure of the system, for a complete failure of leadership. And I think the reason everyone feels so passionately about this is it's, you know, education. It's the sort of, you know, so central to how our society functions. And it's the second time so many people have been let down.
The political machine has already gone into accountability mode. The committee that scrutinises the work of the DfE has called an evidence session for 2 weeks' time to question how all this happened and how it can be fixed.
Well, the concrete crisis is causing major headaches across multiple public sectors. In a letter published overnight, NHS England has ordered all 224 health trusts to review RAAC assessments to ensure they've been conducted thoroughly. Hospitals where the concrete has already been identified are also told to effectively plan for a potential collapse, including an up-to-date evacuation plan for staff and patients. The discovery of RAAC is disrupting the performing arts world too. Multiple theatres across England have been forced to postpone or relocate shows at the last minute. All productions at Carlisle's The Sands Centre, including tonight's performance of Shrek the Musical, have been halted immediately, as have those at the Orchard Theatre in Dartford, citing the presence of RAAC in their auditoriums.